Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing a very interesting video, which I thought would take me a lot more time to decide, but I actually managed to pick them very quickly. So I have picked my top 10 books of all time, not just at the moment or like currently. This is the all-time top 10 and they have stayed on the top 10 the whole time. I've never changed my opinions on these books. No matter what anyone says to me, these books will always be in my top 10. And now I have organised them in order of where they are for me. So what I'm going to do is we're going to start from 10 and go up to 1. I feel like you can see some of the books in the corner and they're the top ones. So we're going to go down from 10 and we're going to go through. I don't know why I'm explaining this to you, as if you don't know what going from 10 to 1 means. But yeah, we're going to go from 10 to 1. So coming in at number 10 is Juniper Hill by Devney Perry. I absolutely love this book. It follows Memphis and Knox's story. Knox is one of the Eden brothers. He is the chef in the hotel that his sister runs. And Memphis was brought in by Eloise to be a cleaner and she just needed a fresh start. The only thing that drives me absolutely crazy about this book is the name of the son, because she has a child before she comes, and his name is Drake, and that name just sends me west. I don't know why, I really don't like it. So that's the only complaint I have about this book. But I love the Eden series as a whole, but this couple, Memphis and Knox, really stood out to me. Like, just the communication between them, the way he treated her, and she is not used to being treated so well, so it's hard. Like, she doesn't feel like she deserves the treatment he's giving her. They're also living very close. She's living on his land, I think it is, or living on, like, I think she lives across the way from him on his land or something like a cabin or something that he has that's not his house. But the way he steps in to be a father, the way he steps in for her is just beautiful. And it is my favourite in the Eden series and always will be. And the cover is beautiful. I love the green. Next, number 9. No one should be shocked to see an Elsie Silver book on here. I think you might be shocked about which one it is though. So we have Powerless by Elsie Silver. This follows Jasper and Sloane. They are childhood best friends. Sloane is a cousin to the Eatons. I know I'm just on about Edens and Eatons, it's very confusing, but Sloane is a cousin to the Eatons and Jasper is like the adopted Eaton brother. But he's always pined after Sloane. Sloane is always pined after him, kind of realised that it was never ever going to happen. And Sloane is with this person, I can't even remember what the name of the fella is. He is terrible, the fella she's with, and she's going to be marrying him, and it's all to appease her family, to make her family happy, basically. And she decides on her wedding day that she cannot do it, and she leaves with Jasper, and then they end up back at Chestnut Springs in Wishing Branch, and their love story unfolds from there, and it is absolutely beautiful. I love the trope of childhood friends to lovers or best friends to lovers, and I feel like it was done really well in Jasper and Sloane's story. It is my favourite in the Chestnut Springs. I know Kate Eaton is the fan favourite. Everyone loves him, but I don't think Jasper gets enough love. He is a NFL hockey player and she is a ballerina. So there's that dynamic then as well. It's just honestly amazing. It's my favourite. I love Jasper. I love Sloane. I will die on that hill. Next is Book Lovers by Emily Henry. This follows Charlie Lastra and Nora. I can't remember what Nora's surname is. Nora Roberts, I want to say, but I think that's an author. I could be wrong. But yeah, so Nora and Charlie, she's a literary agent and Charlie is an editor. And she ends up going to Sunshine Falls with her sister for part of the summer, and leaves New York. Her and Charlie meet for the first time in the first chapter, and their first meeting does not go well, and they end up not liking each other, and she just has a bad taste in her mouth after that. Then she goes away to Sunshine Falls with her sister, and who ends up there? Only Charlie, because he has family that lives there. His parents own a bookshop which is called Good Books in the Sunshine Falls town. And the one thing I loved about this story is it didn't just focus solely on the romance. It focused also on the relationship that Nora has with her sister and the dependency she has on her sister. Like, her sister is married and has kids, and Nora lives on her own in New York and just seems to be unhappy. And her sister is afraid to obviously upset her because they have lost their mother. And yeah, Book Lovers was one of my first Emily Henry books. I feel like her books are literary fiction with a subplot of romance. I love how someone is like a writer or editor in some way. In the first couple of books she wrote, because like with People We Meet on Vacation, I'm sure one of them wrote a blog. I think the Poppy writes a blog. And that's how they end up going on these trips, is because she writes about the trips for the magazine that she works for. Then we have an editor and a literary agent in this one. And then in Beach Read, they are both authors. So I really do like this. I think Book Lovers is not talked about enough, is not hyped about enough. I see everyone giving Beach Read love, and I do love Beach Read. Beach Read was amazing. I read them back to back, and they were both 5 stars, and they still are to this day. But Book Lovers for me is personally where it's at. Then we have number 7. I want to say yes, 7. 7 is Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. Why couldn't I remember her name? This is actually, and I love being able to say this, this is an ARC copy. I didn't get given this, right? I was lucky enough to stumble upon this. I used to work in a homeless shelter, and in the homeless shelter that I was working in, they had a kind of little library. And I remember like I'd be going around cleaning and I'd see it. And I remember one day I saw Fourth Wing written on the side, and I was like, that's not what the cover of Fourth Wing looks like. So upon further inspection, I found out it was an ARC that someone had donated to the shelter. And I was like, excuse me? So I turned around to my boss. I took it downstairs with me and I said to him, I was like, none of them are going to read this, so can I please take it? And I got my hands on it. And it's my prized possession. I will never, ever, ever get rid of this. Like, if you don't know what Fourth Wing's about, I would be very, very shocked. I would say my grandmother, God rest her soul, knew what Fourth Wing was. Like, it follows Violet and Xaden. We have Violet Sorengale and Xaden Ryerson. It is a war college. It's set in Bagasith War College. You either go into scribes, riders, healers, and infantry. I want to say, are they the same thing? I don't know. I think they're the 4 categories. I could be wrong. But anyway, Violet has always been destined to go into the scribe quadrant, which is like for the brainy people, the smart people. Her dad had set her up for that all her life. That was her plan. And then out of nowhere, she ends up going into the writer's quadrant. She tries out for it and manages to get past the parapet and into the writer's quadrant. And Xaden is from a family of people that led a rebellion years back, so he is like the devil, essentially. He is the devil. He's the bad boy. No one wants her interacting with him, no one wants her near him, and everyone's afraid that once they realise who she is, that he'll have her killed. But it doesn't work out that way, and it's absolutely amazing. I absolutely love Fourth Wing. Fourth Wing is the best in the series, I will say. Iron Flame was kind of a flop for me, and Onyx Storm was brilliant, but it's a filler book and everyone knows that. But this was chef's kiss. This is actually the first book that emoted tears for me. I never understood what, like, because I was very new to reading when I read this. I never understood, like, when I saw people like posting about like that they were bawling their eyes out reading a book, or like crying, or like being really happy and giggling. I just never emoted emotions when I was reading. I just read it and that was it. What this book did to me, I was bawling, crying. I think I've started to be able to relate songs to books, and being able to relate songs to the characters and what they're going through really, really, really does help. So that's why I think Fourth Wing hit so hard for me, because I was listening to a playlist while reading. we'll move on to the next one, because I say everyone is sick of hearing about Fourth Wing, because like we only had Onyx Storm come out in January and we're only into May now. So next is number 6, which is Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. So this follows Daisy Jones and the Six, essentially. Daisy joins the Six as a band, and her and Billy are like, what is her name? What's her name? What are the Fleetwood Mac names? Something Buckingham? Okay, I need to look this up. Wait now. Stevie Nicks. How did I forget Stevie Nicks' name? It gives very much that vibe, and the only reason I can say that is because my boyfriend is a huge Fleetwood Mac fan, and he listened to the show, watched the show, listened to it all. Sorry, Lindsay Buckingham. I knew Buckingham was the surname. So they give very similar vibes, where like obviously Lindsay and Stevie Nicks were together and they broke up, but Daisy and Billy will never be together, but they can't help but long for each other. And the really interesting thing about this book is that it is done through like an interview type style, so you get to see every character's perspective on situations that happened. Like, whereas like one person will think like, oh, she was just annoyed at me, whereas the other one will go really deep into it and give their thoughts and feelings on it, and everyone has a part to play. I highly recommend reading the book before watching the show. It is extremely close how much they were able to get the book to TV adaptation. I've never seen an adaptation so close in my life, I will not lie. I loved Daisy Jones and the Six. This book is brilliant. It is perfect for the season that we're going into. I feel like you can read it in any season, but for me it gives summer. So this is my number 6. We are now getting into the top 5, and if you've gotten to this point in the video, I want you to lock in what you think number 1 is now as we're going through it, because I don't know if people will be shocked or be like, yeah, Jordyn, I expected that. But okay, A Court of Silver Flames is number 5 by Sarah J. Maas. The only reason that this is my number 5 out of any other book in the series is because of how much I related to Nesta, because it is mostly Nesta's story we are following, and I am a Nesta apologizer. I'm a Nesta lover. I will defend her because I feel like I relate to her so much, and I feel like we got to see so much more of her character and her depth in A Court of Silver Flames. I know there's people that hate her. I understand why people hate her, but there's a TikTok I saw that it was like you either are a Nesta or you were hurt by a Nesta, and I feel like I am Nesta, and that's why I feel so strongly towards her, so much so that I got ataraxia tattooed on my arm, because it means inner peace, and I just want inner peace like Nesta does. This is the last book in the series, so I'm not going to say too much, but it's a lot of it is Nesta, and it's just all, oh, it's just beautiful. I loved it. It's going to be in my top 5 for a very, very long time, unless I read something very drastically different than that. So now we're going to go to number 4. Number 4 is Daisy Hates the Great Undoing. Only because we get to see so much of Julian in this book, and we get to see so much more depth to him, and that he actually does care and he does feel, but he's had to have this front up for so long. I just want her to do a Julian Hates book. I'm not going to lie, I would love a Julian Hates book. But getting to see his perspective, and you get chapters from his point of view in this as well, which is brilliant. I just love him so much. I love him so much, and that's why I love this, because I didn't really love the first Daisy Hates book, and then it's a complete change when you get to this one and you see more of Julian's character and what he's actually going through, and how good a brother he is and how good he tries to be. And it's like he's doing what's expected of him, and this is what was expected of him, was to keep going with the family business, if you want to call it a business. But yeah, and this is the best quote to come out of the book, and I can say it because it's on the very, very back. It's the greatest undoing of my heart as I know it. And when you know what he's talking about in the situation, it's just like, oh, brilliant. Brilliant, which actually leads me well into my number 3, because you can read these at the same time. You don't have to do a tandem read. It's not necessarily like Jessa Hastings hasn't came out and said that she would prefer them to be tandem read. But after I read them, I thought I could have tandem read these and I would have gotten kind of both sides. But I didn't. I think when I do a reread, I probably will do a tandem read of them, but obviously it's not necessary whatsoever, because you get the full picture regardless of if you read them together or read them separately. And nothing is revealed in The Great Undoing that, like, sorry, no, I don't know. No, just you don't need to tandem read them if you don't want to. That's all I'm saying. But The Long Way Home is my number 3. I love The Long Way Home so much. It was really hard to pick between this and Into the Dark, because I loved Into the Dark so much. I bawled my eyes out. I love it. But I just feel in this story, everything is still sort of normal. Like, nothing has changed too much until obviously we get to the ending, which I'm not going to say because I'm not going to spoil it. I don't want to spoil this for anyone because it is relatively new. Like, it's not like relatively new, but like the events that happen in this book lead to what happens to Into the Dark, and if that's spoiled for you, then it's a huge plot point in Into the Dark. But just the family in this book, the found family, the way that they look after each other, seeing what's going on in other characters' point of views in this book that you don't get to see in The Great Undoing because it's not their book. So Magnolia Park's The Long Way Home is, I love it so much. And I am happy to say that this is signed by the Jessa Hastings. It's my prized possession. I love it. I need to do a reread, and I need to reread and tab them all. Because I'm trying to get into my annotation this year. So I'm going to be rereading all of the Magnolia Parks, all the Boys of Tommins, Akhtar, all the series that I've read, that I've loved. All these books that are actually in my top 10, to be honest, I really want to reread and highlight and quote everything. We're now into the top 2. And if you're thinking, Jordyn, we're like 16, 17 minutes in and you haven't mentioned Boys of Tommen once. Lock in, because we're about to. Number 2 is Redeeming 6. The things I can say about this book. I will go on forever about the Boys of Tommen if you will let me. But then this video would be hours long and we don't want that. So I'm just going to give you a short synopsis. This is the second book in Joey and Aoife's story. Joey is Shannon's older brother and Aoife is Joey's girlfriend. And this book has the perfect combination of friendship, love, the reality of friendship and love, the reality of everything. And there's the found family in this book and the steps we see Joey take to become a better person. And it is one of my favourite Boys of Tommen books that if I had to pick one to reread other than one other, it would be this one, because you get everyone in the story, everyone plays a part, everyone is involved. You get, like, it is Joey and Aoife's story, but everyone else is still very much present in their story at this point. And I just love it. I love Redeeming 6 so much. I can't go on. I'll start crying if I go on about them too much. And I'll give you like 10 seconds to guess what number 1 is. Okay, your time's up. Number 1 is Keeping 13 by Paula. This is the second book in the Boys of Tommen series. So this follows Johnny and Shannon. In the first book, in Binding 13, we meet Johnny and Shannon, and that's where the series kind of kicks off, and that's who it starts with, is Johnny and Shannon, and then it kind of like branches out to everyone else. But this book, and I think I've said this in a video before, I don't know, is it that the reason I feel so much attachment to this book is because I was reading this book when my nan was passing away. I was reading the stuff that happens in this as my nan was passing. So I don't know, is it that has the emotional connection for me? But I feel like Binding 13, while a lot happens, it is still very introductory. a lot does happen, but I feel like everything is developed so much more in this book, and Johnny and Shannon are just... This is coming from the girl who was refusing to read Boys of Tommen 2 years ago because I was terrified that because I'm from Cork, I'm from Ireland, I know obviously Chloe Walsh is as well, but I was terrified that it wasn't going to be done right and I actually wouldn't be able to attach myself to the characters because it's from where I'm from. But if anything, it was the actual opposite. I loved it so much more because I was like, oh my god, I know where that place is, I know where that place is, I know what they mean like when they're saying this slang and all this stuff. But Keeping 13 will always be my number one and I will never stray from it. So much so that I have 4 keeps tattooed on this side. These are the 2 books that I have tattooed on me because of how important they were to me. But yeah, this is my top 10, guys. This is the top 10 that over the last 4 years of reading, these are the 10 that have stayed with me, that I've read all these books over a year ago. None of these are recent, besides A Court of Silver Flames, which I read at the start of this year. All these books I read nearly a year ago or over a year ago, and I still think about them every day. I still will recommend them to people. I will still rave about them. I'll still make TikToks and Instagram posts about them because of how much they've impacted me. So let me know your top 10 in the comments. Let me know if any of them are the same as mine. And I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you might have gotten a bit to know me a bit more by like my top 10 of books. But I hope to see you guys in the next one, and thanks guys, and I shall see you in the next one. Like, comment and subscribe and share with other people if you feel so obliged, and I'll talk to you in the next one.